Yeah, I think Jerry Jones is definitely going to regret it because he'll
Mhm.
probably be dead soon, and the
Yeah.
Cowboys aren't winning a Super Bowl in his lifetime.
Being able listen to me here. Listen,
Okay,
all
go
right?
off, sis. Let's go.
And I know
Oh
Ryan,
shit,
you're laughing at
guys,
me, so
guys,
hear it.
stop right now. We have breaking news. We have breaking news, guys.
Get ready. Class is about to begin with green white dudes coming at you with some heat. Welcome to the School of Hot Takes.
What's up, everybody? This is Mitch coming at you live with my co-host Brian and Dylan. This is another episode of the freshest, the best, the newest podcast out there, the School of Hot Takes. How are we doing tonight, gents?
Fantastic.
Yeah, I can't complain.
Love it. Well, today we are going to discuss some hot takes we got along the way, go over some comeback kids, talk about teams that need some help this season, and then we'll get into our upsets and locks, obviously, later on in the episode. But I don't know about you guys. It has been some hot weather recently, but that has got me thinking of some hot takes here. And I got one I just got to share for this week.
Mitch, it's winter, buddy. It's about to be winter.
Oh, it has been like 70, 80, perfect fall weather.
That is true.
Hot for this time.
Beautiful.
It is
It's like
perfect.
I think it's like 65 where I'm at right now, but hey, go off,
Ooh.
King.
All right. Well, for my hot take, I got to say, I don't know if it's going to be very popular, but I think the Dallas Cowboys made the correct decision in signing Dak to a long-term contract. I don't think he himself is playing terribly. I think the Cowboys have quite a few missing pieces. Their wide receiver depth isn't like crazy good right now, besides CD Lamb being a monster out there. But I think the Cowboys are just having a bad year in general. Going to be one of those down years for them, but I think they'll be able to bounce back in next year's draft, get some key players that they're needing, and I think Dak will really shine after that, and prove why he's been on extended on that contract. I mean, we've seen him play crazy games where he looks elite. He's made it to the playoffs plenty of times, knows how to play against some of the best teams regularly. So, I mean, I don't think it's a question of whether Dak is that bad this year. I think it's more, what are the Cowboys doing wrong? Any thoughts?
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Brian.
I kind of like Dak. I've always liked Dak. I think he's kind of like a Brett Favre type. I think he's like out there just ripping shit. I think the Cowboys have bigger problems than Dak Prescott. Honestly, I think pretty much everything else is going to need addressed at some point. They have CD lockdown. They have Dak lockdown.
Right.
And then they don't have Micah Parsons on a big deal. They're probably overpaying like Trevon Diggs. They're probably going to have to overpay like Jerron Bland. It's just not really a good cap situation. Jerry Jones is kind of fucking the team money wise. Mike McCarthy is not a good coach. I think he's probably the worst coach outside of Nick Sirianni in the NFC right now, just in terms of like what he's should be able to do with the team that he has around him. And I know they've dealt with injuries, but it's just a bit rough. So I don't think Dak is the problem either. I think it's poor team building from Jerry Jones and some poor coaching from Mike McCarthy.
Right. Any thoughts, Dylan?
I got some. Yeah, I definitely got some thoughts on Dak fucking Prescott. Yeah, I'm really not high at all on Dak Prescott. The fact that he's the highest paid player in the NFL is ridiculous. There's no way you can watch that guy and be like, "Yep, that's the guy that should be the highest paid." Yep, he's really good. I don't think he's won a playoff game besides his like rookie year when he had the stacked team. What I'm finding is Mitch really just likes QBs that need to be carried along by the superstar team, and then as soon as their team sucks and they suck, then Mitch likes to just like find excuses why they also suck. He's got 8 touchdowns, 6 picks. He's still got a top 5 receiver. I don't want to make excuses. Yeah, the team's really bad. But I think he should be doing better. The last 3 years in the playoffs, he's single-handedly lost it for them. And I just like they basically told him like, yeah, this is your team now. Let's see what you can do. And he's not really lived up to that like top 10 QB potential unless he has a really stacked team. And I don't understand. Like, I don't understand the QB getting paid this much money, and it keeps getting worse and worse. Because then these QBs really f over the cap situation, and I just don't understand why teams continue to do this, because it makes everything else really really difficult unless that QB is like generational. I just don't see spending the money on QBs like that if they need so much other help around them when you can't ever afford that.
Right.
Like
I
that
mean,
Prescott.
I think Dak can still be a great player and play at that high enough level where he's gonna, win some big games and, go on a playoff run if he has the team around him. I don't know that the size of the contract was a smart idea, but I like that they, added him to that long-term contract and are trying to build the team around him and what he needs and give him, what's needed for that playoff run. It's probably not going to be this year, as we've seen the Cowboys kind of aren't doing too great, but I think in the next couple years we could see them bounce back, to what they have been before in recent history, like dominating the NFC East.
If you ask them this time next year, they'll have regretted that immensely. Very similar to the Giants with Daniel Jones. I'm pretty certain.
The fans might, but I don't know.
I think the team, like if you ask the Cowboys, I think they'll have regretted. I think they wish they would have waited another year.
Yeah, I think like I said, the size of how much they're paying him of the contract is the real issue. I don't know that it's actually with Dak himself, from my perspective, but
yeah, I think Jerry Jones is definitely going to regret it because he'll probably be dead soon, and the Cowboys aren't winning a Super Bowl in his lifetime, so that'll suck. Not his lifetime, but in this era. Right. So that sucks for him. He'll probably regret that. He'll be rolling in his grave.
Right. Well, since we're talking about bad teams here, I think we should, discuss some other teams that need some help. But before we get into that, I just want to make sure that I get this out there. Everyone, make sure you make sure you subscribe, comment, hit the notification button. We are trying to get some episodes up weekly. We got some good discussions going. We got our TikTok up and running. Really great content out there. Make sure to check that out. We got some shorts being posted on YouTube. So yeah, just make sure you check us out, get our content watched. Make sure you follow us.
Every like is one Deshaun Watson Achilles pop. Okay.
Oh, please. Let's keep it going. But anyway, back to the bad teams here. I think one team that we just can't ignore here, it's got to be the Miami Dolphins. Obviously, they're not doing so good this year. And a lot of that, I think there's quite a few issues, honestly, rather than just one that I think you guys are going to point out. Obviously, Tua hasn't been playing, and that's obviously a big issue. But I think there's more underlying issues that we're not really focusing on with the Dolphins. And I mean, yeah, we could say Tua comes back, he makes an impact and everything. But one thing I think that needs to happen for the Dolphins to get better here is to move on from Tua. His injuries and everything are just preventing him from being able. Listen to me here. Listen.
Hey, go off, sis. Let's go.
I think they need to move on from Tua, all right? In the sense that get as much draft capital as they can from him right now. There's a lot of other bad teams in the league that would give up a lot to have Tua, where you could get some good draft capital from him, even if he is really injury prone. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets hurt again this year. What's that?
Do you think teams would still do that with the last injury he just had again, with all the stuff?
Well, he's coming back in next week or two, I think he said. So if he can have a really good game or two where the Dolphins can start shopping him around, and if he can stay healthy for the rest of the season, I don't think him coming back is going to be able to save the Dolphins season at this point. I think they're kind of they're out of it at this point. I don't know that they can make a playoff run or even like sneak in as a 7 seed. So I don't know if Tua coming back right now is even going to help them that much. So if I were the Dolphins, I would honestly shop around and, and get as much as I can out of him right now. And then next year in this coming draft one of the quarterbacks that are coming up, because there seems to be quite a few good guys that are playing at really good levels right now that could probably help the Dolphins better long term if those guys are proven to be healthy. So I think, yeah, Tua's a great player, but the quarterback issue, I think in the long run, it would help the Dolphins by moving on from Tua.
Okay. Do you want to trade Tua?
I think that would probably be their best bet at this point. And I know Ryan,
guys, stop right now. We have breaking news. Guys. The Raiders have made a quarterback move.
Really?
They have signed Cincinnati Bearcats legend Desmond Ridder.
Did they?
He will play NFL snaps again, ladies and gentlemen.
He's not beating Gardner Minshew, dude. He's not any better than Gardner.
Why would they sign him if he's not beating Gardner?
Because they don't have a backup. Aiden O'Connell broke his hand.
Did you watch?
Aiden O'Connell broke his hand.
Did you watch?
Have you seen Desmond Ridder?
I have seen Desmond Ridder. He is a really good quarterback. And honestly,
really.
I was going to come in here and I was going to talk about how maybe the Dolphins should have signed Ridder to the Dolphins, because I think that his play style actually goes really well with what the Dolphins are trying to do. So I thought that they kind of made a mistake by not looking into someone like a Desmond Ridder. So I'm really happy that your comeback player of the year is going to be Desmond Ridder for the Las Vegas Raiders. He's going to lead them to a AFC championship game.
Okay.
He might have a Super Bowl run in him. We'll see how that goes. I think the Raiders, I'd love to talk about the Raiders now, because I think the Raiders need to trade for Alec Pierce. I think they need to trade for Ivan Pace Jr. I think they need to make a big boy trade to Sauce Gardner. Just get the old Cincinnati Bearcats, 2021 Cincinnati Bearcats right there, and run it back.
Run it back and probably be just as bad as they are now. I like it.
Yeah. Sorry, I do have Google notifications turned on for Desmond Ridder. So every time his name is brought up, I get a notification on my phone that says Desmond Ridder has taken a shit this morning, or Desmond Ridder has walked his dog. I get all those notifications. So I just wanted to point that out, because we have not had breaking news on this podcast yet. But Desmond Ridder, one of my favorite college quarterbacks of all time, has signed with an NFL team. So
what terrible breaking news. First one.
Okay.
Anyway, what are your thoughts on Tua here, though?
Let's get back to this fucking god-awful take. So first of all, the Dolphins are not going to trade away a quarterback that they just paid $100 million like a month ago. Like, that's not going to happen. I understand what you're trying to say, but I think what Dylan also said is that the Dolphins are really reliant on Tua. And I think what this stretch of the Tua-less Dolphins has really shown me is that McDaniels is not as good of a coach as we all thought he was. I think,
which is what I was going to do too.
Right. So the fact that he's not able to get the ball into the hands of Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, Devon Achane, the fact that he's not able to have those superstars go off without a quarterback who is not that gifted tells me that the Dolphins probably have bigger problems than Tua, and that Tua and McDaniel and the way that offense is built is really, really reliant on their skill sets. And if you remove that skill set, all of a sudden that team becomes hot garbage, like what we've been seeing the past 5 weeks. I mean, they're a miserable offense. They're one of the worst I've ever seen. And so the idea that they're just going to take Tyreek Hill in his prime, Jalen Waddle in his prime, Devon Achane in his prime, all these players in their primes, and they're going to punt it and get rid of their quarterback for a maybe quarterback next year, I think is kind of a ridiculous take, man.
No, I don't think it's as bad as you're thinking. I agree. They obviously probably won't.
No, Mitch. Their team is really bad. They will probably not win another game this year. So what they're saying is we're going to trade Tua and not win another game this year.
Well, they're
That's
not
what they're
going to
saying.
win anyway.
They
I
will
think
if Tua
it would
comes
be in
back.
the
I think that
Dolphins'
they'll win a
best
couple games.
interest, though. I think it would be in the Dolphins' best interest to just count this year as a loss, tank, grab a quarterback that
No, I don't
even
think
if
so.
even if he sits behind Tua for a year or two, at least he's able to be in there to play backup if Tua gets hurt again. Because who they have right now, god awful. They need to
Yeah,
draft a quarterback next year
yeah.
at the
Again,
minimum.
sure, sure. I think something we learned last year with like the Joe Burrow injury is that you should probably have a decent backup that can step in and
Right.
make plays. Joe Flacco did it last year. Like last year, I was really hoping a lot of teams would be like, okay, this makes sense. We have to have a decent quarterback back there. We can't have a project. We can't have, some scrub who knows the offense. We need an actual good quarterback that we actually have to pay behind our quarterback. However, I think getting rid of Tua is not only not ever going to happen in a million years, I think also they probably won't do that either. It's unfortunate because I think Tua should have retired. I'm not even like I'm going to be
Right.
real. I don't want to watch Tua die on the field, which I feel like
Exactly.
is like Tua's only like 25, 26 years old. Quarterbacks play for 30 to the 30, 35. So what are the odds that Tua, who's already had two of the scariest head injuries in NFL history, is not going to fucking die? But
Yeah.
at the
Another
same
one.
time,
Like,
at the same time, I think that him coming back at all and the way that this team has looked has just shown me the Dolphins, it's Tua or bust. They know that this is their window. Their window is the next 3 years. That's their window. That's how
but
long
if
they have
this is
Tyreek.
if this is their window
their
with
window.
him getting hurt every year and them dropping 6-7 games every season, that's not a great window. That's something where you have to seriously look at it and be like, is Tua really our answer here? Like, if he's going to get hurt for 7 games out of the season and we're going to miss the playoffs every year, is this really our answer? Like, you gotta to think logically, even if it sucks that, like, yeah, he's a great player, he's able to be a game changer, but like, if he's not able to help you in the long run, like, what's the point? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He played all last year. He played all last year.
I understand, but his ability to be injured that easily is just, it's too questionable, I think, for him to actually be their long-term answer.
True.
Yeah.
True. I get.
Yeah, I think that's a conversation that we can have later in the season. But I think, like I said, there's nothing happening with Tua this year. It's going to be him. Right. They're not going to say we're going to continue to be shitty.
Correct.
And we're going to continue to rock with Tyler Huntley, who's hurt now, and Tim Boyle and Skylar Thompson. They just lost the best free agent quarterback on the market in Desmond Ridder. So unfortunately, I do think that they have to ride with Tua, and it sucks because it's like they hired the perfect coach for Tua. Tua is the perfect quarterback for the coach. That's just their situation right now. Their team is built around, can the quarterback read the defense, make a quick throw? Can the receiver make the catch and do something in the field? And unfortunately, there's just not many quarterbacks that even exist at all in the NFL right now or in the future, like in college, that will be able to do what Tua does. And I'm not a big Tua fan, but his skill set is so niche. And I think that unfortunately the Dolphins, for better or for worse, they're going to have to ride with Tua Tagovailoa.
I sort of agree, but just looking at it, if I could get, like 2 first-round picks, a second, and there's teams that'll make that.
You're not getting that.
Right. So
you're not getting that. You're not getting that for Tua. He's already too many. You just laid out how shitty of an injury history he has. You're not getting 2 first and a second.
Right.
No chance.
Right.
Maybe not that, but you could get some high draft capital for him. You know what I mean?
You're getting a 4th round. You're getting a 4th round. I'm saying.
I don't know about.
Because he can't play a whole season, Mitch. Yeah, you laid out your own case against yourself. If you think they should him because he's that bad, then why would any other team give him?
It's not that he's that bad. He's just able to be injured. But I mean,
But if you think he's not a long-term option, no team is giving away a single first-round pick for someone who's not a long-term option.
Yeah. Otherwise, they just make another team the same exact. Yeah. Right. You just made another team that their problem. So I don't think you're getting any draft capital. He can't stay healthy.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, I think the other thing is that I think those coaches are a little bit smarter than us. Hot take.
Right.
I
Obviously.
think I think they look at Tua and they're saying the exact same thing as us. I think they're saying he's hurt, he's injury prone, and on top of that, he's in a system that's perfect for him. There's not really another team outside of maybe like the 49ers that would be able to put Tua in and he would just immediately start clicking. And, sure, if the take is that the 49ers are going to bench Brock Purdy and trade for Tua,
Why
hey,
would they bench a
fucking hell.
generational talent?
Jesus
Well,
Christ, shut up.
probably because they're like 3-4 or whatever they are. And they're
Yeah, they're losing record with him. So.
But anyway, to get in past Tua here, I know we brought up Mike McDaniel. What do we think of him as a coach? Because he's 22-18 with the Dolphins right now, and I guess that pairs in kind of with Tua going down their bad record. But is he really going to be as good as people are thinking? Like, I mean, yeah, he's fun and has that vibe around and brings out some media attention to the team, but like, I'm not quite sold on Mike McDaniel.
No, I think we already covered all this. Like like Brian said, he's highly dependent on Tua. Tua's highly dependent on him. Without those two together, if he doesn't have that perfect system, perfect quarterback, like that's it. That's a wrap for Mike McDaniel. So
right.
Yeah.
I mean, he's on contract until 2028 though, which
he was the young hot topic.
Yeah,
he was the young hot topic everyone wanted. It'll be the same thing probably next year with Ben Johnson, I assume. So yeah, it's gonna be the same thing. Like coaches, organizations got to take big leaps, so they want to sign him long term. He did have a lot of really good success when Tua and him are both clicking on all cylinders. They put up 70 points last year. They go crazy when they're all healthy, but without Tua, he's obviously just another coach in the NFL. So.
Yeah. I will say I know you guys did not watch the Dolphins game yesterday, the Dolphins Colts game. It was probably some of the worst football I've seen all year. And on top of that, the thing that is very frustrating, and I've seen this stat line kind of go, viral a little bit, where it's like, Tyreek and Jalen Waddle combined for 2 catches on 2 targets for 19 yards. And their fullback had 30 yards, and Jonnu Smith had like 6 catches. Like, it wasn't even a matter of like they're just trying to get those guys the ball. I don't know what he was even doing. He was like throwing screens to their tight end when they have 2 of the fastest players in the NFL. So, I think without Tua, that entire offense has just kind of crumbled to the point where they don't even have an identity. They're the most boring offense to watch. Like, I would take Deshaun Watson. At least I can root for him to get fucking sacked or something over watching the 4th string Dolphins quarterback throw screens to a tight end who's like 30 years old and past his prime. Like, it just looked really, really bad. They've lost their edge rushers, which is something that we don't really talk about. Bradley Chubb, I think, is consistently hurt. Jalen Phillips, who every time he touches the field looks like a Hall of Famer. He hasn't had a healthy season since he's been in the league. So I think there's just a lot wrong with this team, unfortunately. And as much as I don't want to say it, it is not Tua's fault. It is really not Tua's fault, man. And I don't think trading him benefits the team or benefits the coach at all.
No, I don't think it's Tua's fault either. I mean, him getting hurt isn't like his own, issue.
Well, this last one was totally his fault.
Yeah, it was 100% his fault.
I understand, but I mean, like, you don't purposefully go out there to get a concussion. Like, it's not like he did that on purpose.
No.
Like,
yeah, he's just got Jello for a brain. That's all.
Right.
He's got Jello brain.
But yeah, I mean, like you touched on, Brian, the quarterback issue, and like we touched on, every team needs sort of the depth at this point because, I mean, we've seen it multiple times this season already. Like, teams just can't rely on some shit squad, 2nd string, 3rd string, 4th string guy. With a lot of these star, super talented wide receivers, running backs who can really thrive off of a good quarterback. And that's why I was thinking if the Dolphins do, tank this year in a sense, and Tua either takes a back seat almost or doesn't try and go balls to the wall to grab a playoff spot, the Dolphins might benefit by drafting a quarterback in the 1st round next year.
Okay.
I like it. You
But
took a big swing. It's hella hot take, and I like it. It's a hot take, and I like
hey,
it.
we are the school of hot takes, though. We got to have them every once in a while.
Facts, facts. I like it. You know, if the Dolphins see this and they need a new GM in the next couple of years, I think you just signed
I,
yourself right
I
up.
will be there.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
talking about hot takes here, Dill, why don't we get into some of your hot takes about the Jags?
Yes, the great old Jags. Okay, so I'm gonna do it a little differently. I'm gonna propose to you two options here. I'm gonna go with a conservative option and a much more risky option, and
Oh
then we
boy.
can discuss which. Yeah, we can discuss which one you would rather do. So I'm only giving you these two choices. You get no other choices. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
But then I guess at the end, you could tell me what I could do better too, because I was just kind of dicking around, just writing stuff down. Okay, conservative option first. Bless you. Conservative option first. They tank. Because regardless, I think they just need a tank. They fucking suck. Okay. I don't think getting any more wins, to getting up to 5 wins and staying at 2 wins, it doesn't really do much besides get them a work pick. And I think they need all the firepower they can. So first thing, tank. Step 2, fire Dougie P. Get him out of there. He's gone. I would go after Ben Johnson. I just think he's a fun, exciting young guy. I don't know how good he's going to be as the head coach. We'll see. But at least maybe I think he'd give him a spark. It'd be good for the fan base. Next, I would trade ETN and I would trade Christian Kirk. I would trade both of them immediately. Reason I would do them, I think that's their best two pieces to get some good draft capital because they're still young and in their prime. It's I think they can still get that. I don't know if they can get a first, maybe a first for ETN. I don't think they could, maybe though. I mean, he's good when he's in a good system, I think. But at least they could do is get a couple second round picks. And then I would go heavy draft in the O line. Their O line's terrible. They have no help to kind of protect T-Law back there. So I would try to kind of help him out. And then whatever else you get, you could still get another receiver. They've done, they're pretty good receiver anyway. And plus they have Brian Thomas. And I think Gabe Davis is pretty cheap. So get another receiver later in the round. You could get another guy to go behind Tank Bigsby. Yeah, but I would go heavy O line. And that's my conservative take. That's where I'm thinking number one, that they could go to fix them. Now, much more risky option, but more fun. Step 1, still tank. You got to tank. Regardless, you tank. Step 2, still exactly the same. You fire Dougie P and you go for Ben Johnson. So either way, I'm very sold on that too. Next, take Trevor Lawrence immediately. It's going to be a little more tough because they just signed him to a big boy contract. So I had to go and look what teams could actually afford him. It's not many that don't already have a QB or just drafted one recently. So they would have to trade him to the Raiders. The Raiders are the only team that makes sense. Now, this could work, though. This could work because originally, if you remember, back when there was that original draft when T-Law was in, the only other team that was interested in him was the Raiders. That was before they were Las Vegas, but that was the other team that wanted him. Jags took him first. So this could work. He goes to the Raiders. They get that pick. So now the Raiders have a top 10 pick projected. Jags also have a top 10 pick projected. Then from there, I'm going to go for a QB. You either trade up. You could use both those twos to trade up and try to get a high, first, second pick. I'm taking a QB. I'm taking either Cam Ward or I'm taking Shadur Sanders. Those are the only two I will accept. I'm not taking Quinn Ewers. I'm not taking Carson Beck. They fucking suck. We just watched those two jizz stains in the last game on Saturday night. They're not good. So I'm taking Ward or Sanders. I think both of them are really fun, exciting. They're going to be good to the fan base. Cam Ward, Florida guy already playing at Miami. I know some people don't like Sanders, but if you watch him, he's stupid accurate. And he's actually really athletic. He plays in Colorado, so he gets a bad rep more so because of his dad and because he's kind of a dickhead, especially on social media. But he can play ball. If you watch, he is actually stupid accurate. He can move. He's really fun to watch, which I think is what the Jags kind of need right now. Him and Brian Thomas would be super fun to watch. So I would go for that. And then from there, I would still try to get some of those lower end picks to still kind of help the O line. It's just you would be kind of getting some of the lower end O line guys, and you're not taking some of the higher end because first round you blew your load on either Cam Ward or Sanders, so you're gonna have to get some low end O line help. So those are my two options: conservative and risky, One, you get rid of Trevor Lawrence. One, you keep him. But one, you're getting rid of your top two, I'd say, of your three big options, getting rid of Kirk and ETN. What are we thinking here?
Ryan.
Okay, I have to go first. Yeah, I mean, I sort of suspected that when you picked the Jags that there was going to be some Trevor Lawrence trading happening. I like the idea of trading him to the Raiders. I think that's a good spicy little spicy take there. It's a tough QB battle there now, obviously with Desmond Ritter there. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know that with Desmond Ritter. That really throws a wrinkle in.
So one of I think the biggest, if we had to simplify it, right, the biggest move, all of those things could work. I think the coach has to go first before we make any judgments about the rest of the team. And something I didn't even think about really is that I think the Jags are kind of a sneaky sell at the deadline team, get a bunch of picks. They have a bunch of players who are either really good that they don't need right now because their window is a little bit wonky, or they have a lot of mid-level players who are starters on other teams but aren't really productive on their team. Like Trayvon Walker is a player who's fine but would probably be better on a different team. You said Christian Kirk, Gabe Davis. I think those are really good examples of players you could probably trade for like a third or fourth round pick. And then ETN, I have in my own brain really been thinking about trading ETN as well. I think Bigsby is a better running back. I thought he was a really good running back out of college and was disappointed that he went to the Jags because I thought he would never get an opportunity. Giving him an opportunity this year, and he's looking better than ETN, which is great. I think ETN is a little bit overrated, especially at the pro level. I think he's really overrated. I will run you one alternate scenario that I think is really, really likely, just based off of what I'm seeing from some draft prospects. So I do think Peterson is fired. I think they're going to let him be the tank person. I think they will be like, hey, this is your last ride here, buddy. We're going to let you take this team to 4 and whatever. And we're going to fire you at the end of the year. Do your best, like whatever. I think that the player that they will target will not be a quarterback or a receiver. I think that they're going to tackle. They're going to try and go for that. I gave it away. That tackle from LSU. I think that he is. I don't remember his name. I haven't really scouted him, but from what I am hearing, reports are saying the streets are saying that the LSU tackle, Will Campbell. Yes, the streets are saying Will Campbell is the best player in this draft. And I think if that is true, if he really is a generational left tackle talent, he will take this Jags team immediately from mid to amazing. Like, I think that is more likely of a pick. I think that they could get him if they had a top 5 pick, because I think that the other teams that are kind of in that top 5 will be looking for quarterbacks. Titans, Raiders, Giants, those teams are kind of in the talk for that position. I think that they'll probably get him. They'll have to contend with the Patriots. I think the Patriots are the other good fit for the LSU tackle, but I don't know if they'll be as bad as the Jags. I think it'll be really close. It'll be a tank for Campbell situation a little bit. So I think you are at least 50% there. I like about 50% of what you're saying. I think trading Lawrence is a step too far for me so far. If we get rid of Peterson and Lawrence is still bad, absolutely ship him off to, I don't know, somewhere that sucks Browns. That he can be better. Yeah, the Browns. I don't know. Browns or the Lions. Let him be a backup to Jared Goff because that'd be funny. I don't know. But yeah,
so that's why when I went with the two scenarios, because I was looking at different things online, and when I was looking at like subreddit stuff from the Jags community, I think they were more aligned with this conservative one, but they were like, yeah, we need to go Will. Let's get some tackle up. Let's keep Trevor Lawrence and get like a really good offensive-minded guy like Ben Johnson in there, and really see like what is it? Is it Dougie P or is it Trevor Lawrence? Can he still be salvaged? Because the dude he can move. He's 6'6". He throws a great ball when he's not being stupid. So like I feel like there's a lot of potential there, and the right coach could probably do really well. And I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of coaches lined up to at least try, because every coach thinks they're God, reincarnated. So I'm sure everyone wants to at least try it. If he can just sit back and be a pocket guy, I mean, look what Ben Johnson's doing with Jared Goff right now. Like, he's playing incredible, out of his mind stuff. I don't see any reason why they can't, get 1 or 2 more good receivers and just kind of imitate what the Lions do and just stack it where, like, it's kind of hard not to succeed a little bit for Trevor.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Trevor is really the issue. I think like you're one step there, just getting rid of Doug Peterson. He just needs to go. I think that'll solve not all of the issues, obviously, but a vast majority. Just get some new energy in there. Just do something different. Brian, I don't even know if he's going to make it to the end of the season, honestly, at this rate. I could see them firing him later this year, a couple weeks before the end of the season, just to at least let the fans know that they're going to be starting fresh, essentially, again.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you guys have seen too much about him. But one coach I think would be fun to bring in, at least for interviews and everything, just see, would be that Barry Odom out of UNLV. I watched a video this morning, and a lot of analysts were talking about him, about how he might want to take that leap up to the NFL. And I don't know if the Jags would be a good fit for him, but I mean, if they're going to be moving on from Doug Peterson, he seems to be doing really well with UNLV at the college level. And like I said, I don't know how that'll translate to NFL, of course, but with a relatively young team, him being able to excite, not a Power 4 school, get those players excited and compete at a good level so far from what we've seen, I think that could be like a rejuvenation of the Jaguars at this point.
Yeah, I can see that. My only issue is I don't even know what was the last college coach that came up and like has had success as a head coach. I don't know the last one that's been really, really good. It's so much harder dealing with grown ass men, and you know what I mean, like 18-year-old kids. Like, yeah, those motivational guys. That's what everyone's like. Oh, Lincoln Riley, but like he's dealing with grown ass men. But and when you deal with grown ass men, I don't think you can. Yeah, you can.
That's why I also said, I mean, the Jags are, a lot of their key players are still relatively young. I mean, they're not, pushing 30, mid 30s, like they're, a few years.
They're on the young side.
They're still on the young side where he can still work with them and, I mean, not relate to them, obviously, but, sort of ease into that transition from college to NFL. So.
Yeah, no, I like it. All right, Brian, let's get into yours. Let's get into your take here. Who's your comeback kid, buddy?
Okay, my comeback team. I was between two, and I sort of regret my decision. So I'll touch on both of them. I'll do my main team pretty quickly here, because my comeback team, my comeback kid, are the New York Giants, a team that I think is really fucking bad. And I think they are the worst managed team in the NFL, probably the worst managed team in sports right now. They're really bad. They had that Hard Knocks situation go down where you can hear them talking about getting rid of Saquon and literally talking about, is he worth the money? Nobody's going to pay him that. And then they fast forward to this weekend where Saquon Barkley lights them on fire and shows them why he's worth every goddamn dollar of that $40 million or whatever it is. Money that they had to spend, by the way, which is frustrating because they're spending that money on weak ass corners and Devin Singletary. So whatever.
And Daniel Jones.
And Daniel Jones, which again, and I think the other thing is they didn't have to pick one or the other. They could have afforded both. I really don't understand why everyone makes it seem like it was, Daniel Jones or Saquon. Fucking no, dude. They could have paid Daniel Jones what they got paid, and they could have paid Saquon. I think that was just a really dumb decision. And so I think first off the bat, you got to fire that GM. You got to fire him. He should have been fired the day after the Hard Knocks episode released. He's just really bad. There were so many scenes in that Hard Knocks season. I don't know if you guys have watched it, but that was the kind of shit that I love. I love that behind the scenes. How do they pick a prospect? How do they decide who to pay and how much to pay? I really love that stuff. And to watch somebody do it badly made me think, holy shit, I could actually do this. This would not be hard. Saquon's really good. Let's pay him market value. That just makes fucking sense to me. Jaden Daniels is sitting there and telling you that he'd throw a touchdown. You're asking him to remember all these plays, and he's like, I would just throw a touchdown. And you guys are like, we like him more than Caleb Williams. I don't understand. I don't understand some of the mentality that goes into these decisions. It just makes me think that fans are a little bit closer to being good GMs than we think. And maybe it's all the Madden franchise experience that I have, but I'm going to be honest. Like, there are some decisions that just don't make any goddamn sense. So I'm starting with, you got to fire that GM. And the reason I kind of regretted taking the Giants is that I think their only option is to tank as well. I think I'm between two quarterbacks right now as my number one overall prospect. We'll get into that here in a second. I think that they will probably go with a third guy because they're the Giants and they are going to make the wrong decision, but we'll get into that. I think what you do right now is you either bench or cut or trade Danny Dimes. I think you cannot have that foolishness happen anymore. I think you got to show, hey, we're willing to move on from this guy immediately. Like, we made the bad decision. We're going to move on. So you get rid of the GM. You either wait and cut Danny Dimes. I think, like, if we're talking realistically speaking, you're probably not going to get much more than like a fifth rounder, maybe a fourth if it's a team that's like super interested in him. I don't know who would be. I think realistically what happens is after the season's over, his guaranteed money is very easy to swallow. So you cut him after the offseason. You move on. You might even get a comp pick from him in the future if another team signs him. So worth cutting him, just cutting the losses right there. I think what you do is you look at your stars, your young stars. The interesting thing about the Giants right now is they have a lot of players that I'm actually really excited about. Malik Neighbors is the obvious answer that everyone's going to talk about because he's fantasy relevant and he has some crazy catches and he's really fast and he's just an interesting player to watch. But I am going to posit two more players that you guys should be looking at. That would be Tyrone Tracy, the rookie running back that has looked electric on the field. Reminds me an awful lot of like Saquon Barkley. Explosive plays, good pass catcher. He's not a power back, but they have a couple of guys on the roster right now who they could use as a power back. Eric Gray, Joshua Corbin, both of those guys are good power backs. They played surprisingly well the past couple of weeks. But Tyrone Tracy is the star there. He looks really good, really electric, awesome pass catcher. Came out of college. I really liked him as a pass catcher. Thought he was a third down back. I think he's kind of showing me he's a little bit more than a third down back. And then also Deonte Banks, cornerback out of Maryland, had an incredible combine. And then he went to the Giants and everyone forgot he existed because it's the Giants and they're going to lose every game by 40 points regardless. But that dude is on some WR asses, dude. He is on that shit. He played the Giants yesterday, as we're recording this because it's Monday, played the Eagles. The Giants played the Eagles. So he was covering A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. They came back for their first game, and of course they made some great plays, but for the most part, Deonte Banks did a really great job of shutting them down. Saquon and Jalen Hurts combined for like 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. Like, the Eagles won that game with their run game and not their pass game. And I think that was a lot to do with the fact that Deonte Banks was locking down A.J. Brown, and when he covered Devontae Smith was locking him down. I think what you do is you give, Brian Dable, you give him full control. You let him pick his preferred quarterback. I think I know who that will be. Again, unfortunately, because I like 2 other guys a little bit more. But you give him full control. You invest heavily in the offensive line over the free agency, and you draft a quarterback first overall. So similar to Dylan, I think there are 2 quarterbacks that I like in the first round. One of them is Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward is top 3, at least right now, in my quarterback list. I think he's kind of athletic. I think he has a little bit of that Jaden Daniels in him, just a little bit of his like flexibility. He's probably not as athletic, but he can give you what you're looking for, and he'll be the most exciting quarterback in this draft by the end of the season. I'm like 100% confident about it. Everyone's doing his dumbass celebration that I don't get. I think it's really stupid, but whatever. So I think that he's up there. And I also do like Quinn Ewers, unfortunately. I do think he's probably my QB1 or QB2 in this class so far. I just think he's a little bit Mahomesy.
So bad.
He's got an amazing arm. He's got an amazing arm, dude. And I think you have the issues that you're going to have with anybody that has an amazing arm. Obviously, a little bit of Zach Wilson and a little bit of Josh Allen what's his name? I always forget this guy's name. Um, pre-Dable, obviously, but like he's got a little bit of that in him, but he's a little bit better, I think, overall, and can take that game to the next level. I think that the Giants are going to draft Shedeur Sanders. I think he fits what they're looking to do a little bit more. I think they're going to want a little bit of a culture change. And I think that's going to be the culture change that they're looking for. They're going to look for a guy who's going to come in there with immediate swagger. They're going to come in there with a guy who is going to run the ball and talk a lot of shit. And I can just see the headlines now of Showtime, Shedeur Sanders, and New York, the Big Apple. I can see it now. I think he'll like it there. I think that it isn't necessarily a bad fit if they do everything else right. I think that they can make that work. Look at the Panthers as a blueprint. And I know that's weird to say because the Panthers are really, really bad. But what they did this offseason is they invested literally hundreds of millions of dollars in the offensive line. And believe it or not, that offensive line is performing. You don't notice it because they have 34, 35-year-old Andy Dalton and then shitty Bryce Young behind that offensive line. So it doesn't really seem like it's doing that well. They did that. They went out and got talented receivers. They drafted Leggett. They traded for Deontay Johnson. They invested in those really exciting young players. And then they went and they didn't get the quarterback that they needed. So if the Giants did everything else and then got the quarterback that they needed, I think we could see them go from bottom 5 team to at least, I'm willing to put my money on a playoff team in at least 2 years. I think they'll probably have a weird transition period because any of those quarterbacks that I just mentioned, I think will need a little bit of time to develop. But you start them immediately. Don't do the sit behind Daniel Jones. Don't even waste your time. Draft them, start them, play them. 2 years, you'll be in the playoffs as long as you do everything else correctly. So I know I've been ranting and rambling a lot. What do you guys think?
I think the right move would be to fire the GM, like you said. I think recently they've just been making all of the bad draft picks, like the wrong choices, basically. Like you said, and I could see them, if they don't fire the GM, doing that again this upcoming draft, getting the wrong guy 1 pick away, or taking the wrong quarterback or the wrong defensive player, or drafting a kicker in like the 5th round or something, like some stupid bullshit like that. I could see them just doing that again, like typical Giants year after year bullshit that they do in the draft. Like the Giants, you think they're going to take the best guy, and then, they draft Daniel Jones or they draft whoever, and they trade away Saquon, and like they're just not making smart football moves off the field, and it's just mind-boggling. Like this team has just been mediocre. Even when they won the Super Bowl those 2 years, like 15 years ago, what was the record? Like 7-8, and then 10-6 or something like that. Like they weren't even like astounding teams then. Like a bunch of not mediocre players and overall, but like team-wise, just bad football.
Yeah, fair enough. I think, and even the one thing that they do in the draft that I do appreciate is that they do draft a lot of offensive linemen. They're just drafting guys that are not good. I think Andrew Thomas was a lucky break. I think he's now, one of the best tackles in the game. But they invested in like Evan Neal, who I believe was the Ohio State tackle, and he's just been way too inconsistent. He's been hurt, he's been up, he's been down. So I think that they need to just kind of stop doing that. At this point, like whatever they're doing, their evaluations are bad. What they need to do instead is they need to do what the Panthers did and look at players that are good elsewhere and pay them big boy money. Because a lot of the time, offensive linemen kind of fall by the wayside, and you end up not being able to pay them because you're paying a quarterback or a receiver or a corner or an edge, and you don't really get to pay your great offensive linemen. So I could see that kind of being a situation too. And I'd also, I could see them trading for an offensive lineman. I don't know who they would go for at this point, so I don't want to put my money on it. But we talked about a team earlier that I think could potentially trade them a lineman, and that would be the Dallas Cowboys. I think the Dallas Cowboys have a lot of offensive linemen. I could see them saying, hey, we can't pay everybody. Take one of our tackles, and we'll throw you in give us like a second round pick, we'll give you a tackle. I think that's not a bad look either. They have like Terrence Steele and Tyler Smith. I'm trying to think of the other guy. Can't remember his name. But they've got a lot of really good tackles in Dallas that they don't necessarily need because they're so good at evaluating that position. I could see them kind of getting rid of somebody there too. But you never know. It's tough. Dylan, what do you think?
Yeah, I would definitely echo what you said about giving Dayball full control. I think he's a really good coach. He got the kind of short end of the stick being stuck with Daniel Jones. I think he came in the year they gave him that deal, so he didn't really get to pick that. Yeah, that GM fucking sucks. He's terrible. I remember the other clips. He was like letting his kids choose who they should get next. I remember those clips. Like, who do you think we should get here? Like, that is terrible, and the fact that he let that go on like national television is insane. But Giants are going to Giants. I think it would be really exciting to see the Giants kind of do what you said and turn things around. It would be really fun to see the Commanders Giants be the top two teams in the NFC East, just because the last probably 10 years it's kind of just been like Eagles, Cowboys, and then every once in a while the Giants make a little run. So that would be exciting. The only thing I'm a little worried about is I was doing a lot of look at the mock draft stuff right now, and everyone's saying this draft is a little weak, especially overall. That kind of worries me for a team if you're trying to reload. But like you said, they kind of did the reloading last year, and they only need really a QB out of it. So as long as they make a good choice there, I think that'll be good. And they might have a good chance to. I think a lot of teams have already talked about being willing to trade down because the draft's a little weak, so they might be able to get up there and get a couple more picks that they might not have gotten earlier. So I look forward to doing that. And Brian Daboll's super good with QB, so I'm excited to see him get his hands on one he really likes, just like he did with Josh Allen, and really turn him into like that superstar that he is. So no, I liked everything you said.
Right.
Yeah. Good takes here. I think, like you said, they need to make a lot of moves player-wise, but it needs to start up at that high management level first. Like, they just need to do some changes, getting rid of guys. Like, coaching-wise, I don't think is really the issue, but like all behind the scenes, scouting-wise, even like the whole back-end management just needs like a revamp, I think.
Yeah.
But did you want to touch on the Cardinals at all?
Basically my whole thing with the Cardinals, we'll make this quick. I think the Cardinals are kind of in a position where they should be looking at trading for a corner. And I think the perfect fit would be Marshawn Lattimore from the Saints. That was kind of my whole, I'm not going to lie, that was pretty much the whole thing I wanted to talk about. Because I think the Cardinals are kind of a team that is a piece behind. And I was like, what piece are they missing? And I think the reality is that they have nobody outside of like Buda Baker on that defense who is like stopping the opposing team. And I think obviously linebacker, edge rusher, those are positions they need to, but they kind of have guys in the house that they're working on developing that they probably wouldn't trade for somebody on a 1-year rental. But someone like a cornerback would be somebody that you would say, hey, we're going to kind of lock this guy down and keep him for good. I think that would probably be who I would look at, is Marshawn Lattimore from the Saints. The Saints look like I'm not going to lie, I think that they've given up. They started 2-0, lost 5 straight, and I think that they're kind of cool on it. They're giving the rookie quarterback a shot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're injured to shit. They're beat up. Their top 2 receivers are out. Ryan Ramczyk, their best player, their right tackle, I think he's just decided that he's going to retire. I don't even think he's going to try to come back at this point. So it just seems like they might be in a little bit of a tank situation. If you can kind of send off Lattimore and get a second-round pick out of it, I would do that in a heartbeat. So that was kind of my whole thing. I also thought about A.J. Terrell from the Falcons maybe being a trade target, but I think he just got burnt by DK Metcalf, so we're not gonna think about that anymore, are we? So, that was kind of my whole thing with the Cardinals. Is I thought they were a piece away, and I thought the piece away could be easily fixed in a division I think that is winnable right now for the Cardinals. The 49ers look bad. The Seahawks look really good, sometimes. Geno Smith looks really good most of the time.
Mhm.
The defense stepped up yesterday. They played an amazing game yesterday.
Getting healthy finally getting
Right,
healthy, which is good.
right. They played against the aforementioned Falcons team. And so they looked really good yesterday, and they'd be my pick to win that division right now. The Seahawks would, if I had to pick, just because the 49ers look like they're on a slump. The Cards and the Rams can't figure it out. So
Oh yeah.
I think the Cardinals could make a move and try and make a bid, or they could also be sellers. I honestly couldn't tell you, but I thought they were a piece behind. I wouldn't give up on Kyler Murray yet. I wouldn't give up on that roster yet either. I think they're a little bit underrated still. But yeah, that's all I've got, guys. I'm not gonna lie.
Hey, I mean, sounds like the Seahawks and Cardinals are going to be maybe upsetting as division champs this season, which I think is a good transition into our upsets and locks for the week. Dill, do you want to get us started for your upset and lock here?
You know what, Mitch? I would absolutely love to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. First off, I do want to just shout out Bears Commanders get to play this week, and I'm really excited for that rookie QB. I think this it very well could just kind of decide that rookie of the year right here. Just because
if Jaden Daniels plays.
Yeah, it's true if Jaden Daniels play. I think they kind of took him out more precautionary, I feel like, just because they were beating the piss out of him. The Panthers, that is.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe
he was pulled. He was pulled on the first drive, though. Worth noting.
Yeah, true.
Right.
Yeah, true. I mean, if he doesn't play, he doesn't. But I feel like he's gonna, like, if there's any chance he's gonna. This is like that game. You're like, yo, bro, this is the other guy. You know, like, this is the other piece of shit that thinks he's better than me. You know, I'm gonna play. And I think this would be really good for their record. Like, if they get this, I think Commanders in a really nice place right now. So, but you're right, he might not play. I just wanted to shout that out, though. I will move it on, though. I will call my upset first. Very similar to last year. I believe the Chiefs were very similar spot, and then they completely just blew a fucking load to the Raiders. So I think the Raiders will do it again. I think the Raiders beat the Chiefs. I'm going to go ahead and call my shot there. Maybe Desmond Ritter. I don't know.
Hell yeah, dude. I like it.
I just remember last year, I'm pretty sure they were like 6-1 last year or something, and then Pat Mahomes had that game. I think he threw for like 70 yards, and that was I think it was Antonio Pierce's first game, and he was like talking all that shit, and he was like, "Yeah, that's what we do. That's what we do." The Chiefs, and then the Chiefs played him last game of the year and put up like 50 or something like that. So, but I could see it. You know, Raiders are looking real bad right now. Chiefs are undefeated. It's kind of one of those games. Like, does it even matter? Like, who cares? So it might just be an easy get right spot for the Raiders. We'll see. I'm going to go with my lock of the week. I'm going to go Cowboys because I think they're reeling. I think Cowboys are going to just beat the absolute crap out of the 49ers. I think Niners are just they've got another injury, another ACL. We just saw this morning. Ayuk's done for sure for the year. As I've spoken to at length about Brock Purdy and how he can't do he cannot do it without his Avengers. I think this will be another case that he once again can't do that. And I think the Cowboys, man, they are so desperate right now. Like, they need a win. So I think they're going to come back way, way, way more motivated to do this. And I think they were on bye last week, so they're a little more rested up. And this is Niners going into their bye after this, I believe. So I think the Niners are just trying to drag themselves into that bye. So I'm going to go Cowboys, lock, Raiders, upset.
Nice.
Well, I'll get into mine here. I don't hate your picks, actually. They were quite good. I was really thinking about taking the Raiders over the Chiefs as well for the upset, but I was like they always say, you can't bet against Pat Mahomes. But
I don't like to do it.
I was really considering it. I'll get into my upset first here. I think the Patriots are going to beat the Jets. I think the Jets are just spiraling at this point. They're not playing good football. The coaching situation is still just bad right now. Aaron Rodgers, even with Devontae Adams, I mean, doesn't look great. I mean, Devontae Adams, an extra week now to learn the actual offense and everything, might be a little bit of a boost, but I still think the Patriots, division rivalry game, I think Patriots come out on top again on this one. And then my lock for the week, I'm actually going to take the Lions over the Titans. I just don't think the Titans are playing good football right now at all. I mean, they have a few flashy moments and everything, but I think the Lions are just a better all-around football team, and just going to be too much for the
Agreed.
Titans.
Like number 1 in the power ranking. So yeah, that's a good one there.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start with my lock. I'm riding a little bit of a high here. I'm locking the Steelers against the Giants. If you need to know why the Giants are bad, you can listen to the last 15 minutes that I've been ranting about why they're bad this year. And the Steelers looked phenomenal yesterday. Just coaching masterclass there by Mike Tomlin, Mikey T. So I think they kind of roll. It's a Monday game, so they've got an extra day of practice, an extra day of rest. And I think they'll kind of open that playbook a little bit more for Russ. The entire team just looked like they were amazing against a much better Jets team. I'd be surprised, not shocked, but I'd be surprised that the Giants kind of hold their own at all against that Steelers team if they look the way they did. And then for my upset, I will unfortunately have to take the Rams over the Vikings. Vikings are favored by 3 points. I think the Rams are finally going to be fully healthy. They're going to get Cooper Kupp back. They're going to get Puka Nacua back. And I think this is just a coaching situation where Sean McVay is, I think he's going to be able to figure out that Vikings offense. And then, Matt Stafford with his healthy receivers is just going to be able to kind of outwork the Vikings defense. So I like both of those picks. I think they're both going to hit. That's all I've got.
All right. Hey, Dill, can you look up real quick what the stat line or the betting lines are for the Falcons-Bucks game?
Buccaneers by 3.
Is it?
Yeah.
What's the over-under on that? Because I'm almost shocked the schedule has them playing so soon again. Like, I feel like they just played a couple weeks ago.
So money line Buccaneers minus 155, Falcons plus 131, over under 48 points scored.
48, jeez, that seems low for some reason. I can't wait for that game though. I hope it's another shootout.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet that game. No, not a chance.
No,
yeah,
but
that game would be
that's going to be a fun game to watch.
Oh, absolutely. Maybe. No, yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw this, a little bit off topic about the Buccaneers, but the coach is going to give all 3 running backs touches in the first quarter and then just ride the hot hand. So we're looking at so Sean Tucker, Bucky Irving, and Rashad White. So that's like the 3-headed backfield from hell, in my opinion. Like these fantasy owners who have any of those guys, you'll never be able to start them, but there will be a week where one of them scores like 25 to 30 points. So that sucks.
All right.
God,
well,
the Patriots are a whole 7-point underdog. God.
Are they that big? Jeez.
Yeah, Patriots are a 7-point underdog. Yeah, against the Jets.
Yeah.
Wild. I don't know why. I don't know why the market. Why do
they
they still value? I don't understand why they still value the Jets that much. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the dick riding is crazy.
Is. But anyway, that'll do it from us here from the School of Hot Takes. Like we said at the beginning, make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to comment. Turn on that notification bell. Check out our TikTok. Check out our YouTube shorts. Make sure to just follow us everywhere. Get engaged with us. We like all the content. We think it's pretty good, Yeah, make sure to follow all of our other stuff, and we'll see you here next week. Thanks, everyone.
Class dismissed. Oh, shit. Let me try that again. Class dismissed.
I'm not cutting that. I'm leaving both of those in, just so people can see the fuck up. No.